Hi, welcome to Prime Recap. A mighty warrior is awakened from his tomb and must complete the mission he began 5,000 years ago, to free his people from the hands of a tyrannical government. Today we will recap the story of the 2022 movie, Black Adam. Thousands of years ago, before the pyramids of Egypt were even built, there was a nation called Kondak. These were the first people on Earth to be ruled by a king, and for centuries Kondak prospered, becoming a center of power and recognition. However, when King Oktan ascended the throne, everything changed. He used his army to take power by force and, during several years of his reign, proved to be a real tyrant. Obsessed with dark magic, Oktan aimed to forge the crown of Sabak. In this way, he would become invincible. To forge the crown, he needed to collect Eternium, a rare mineral with magical properties, found only in Kondak. He then forced his own people to excavate those lands. When one of the diggers found a fragment of the stone, he had to run to hand it over to the watchman and thus obtain the reward promised by the king. However, there was always the risk of being robbed by other workers on the way. When Zhao is about to lose the treasure he has just found, Haru appears to defend him and accompanies him until he manages to deliver the stone to one of the soldiers. However, when Zhao collects the reward promised by the king, the soldier strikes his belly and pushes him over a cliff. Upon seeing this brutal scene, Haru is horrified and Teth Adam gets his son out before the young man becomes the next victim. Haru dreamed of a free life for himself and his people, but Teth Adam advises the young man not to try to play the hero, for the graveyards are full of them. Still, Haru planned to unite his nation and believed that if everyone came together, they could depose the tyrant king. Therefore, the young man steals the Eternium from the guard's hand and uses the stone as a symbol of freedom, in order to light a spark in the hearts of his people. King Oktan knew that this small spark could turn into a fire, so he ordered the young man to be eliminated in front of everyone. Even in his final moments, Haru kept the flame of freedom burning in his chest and wanted to perish, being an inspiration to those left there. But instead, the young man brought about a miracle. The Council of Sorcerers, the magical guardians of the earth, chose him to restore the balance and gave Haru the powers of the ancient gods, transforming him into a champion. However, Sabak's crown had already been forged, and when the champion arrived at the palace to challenge the king, Oktan invoked his demonic power. During the battle, the entire palace was destroyed, but the champion was victorious and the sorcerers hid Sabak's crown so that it would never fall into human hands again. Since then, the champion has never been heard from again. However, there is a legend that says that when Kondak needs it most, he will return to give the people back their freedom. Currently, the country is ruled by international mercenaries, known as Intergang. In order to leave the city, all vehicles must be inspected and people need to show their documents to the guards guarding the borders. When the trunk of a van was about to be searched, Amon, a 14-year-old teenager, tries to cross the barrier with his skateboard, but is knocked down by the guard. The man then orders him to go to the end of the line to be searched, and Amon provokes him. Enraged, the Intergang member orders Karim to leave with his van and checks his wrist for an image of the wanted fugitive, Adriana Tomaz. As the vehicle crosses the border, Adriana comes out of hiding and Amon appears in the window. The young man is the fugitive's son and intends to go with her on her mission to find Sabak's crown. However, the woman manages to convince him to return home. On the way to the mountain where, according to the map, the artifact is supposed to be hidden, Adriana looks closely at her pendant made of Eternium that she got from her grandmother, and Samir says that the stone would be worth a fortune if it were sold on the illegal market. However, that family heirloom came from the time when Kondak was free and holds great sentimental value for the woman. Karim, the driver, who is Adriana's brother, complains that all he got as an inheritance was a coat and his grandfather's baldness. Upon reaching the mountain, the trio begins their exploration while Karim stands guard in the van. When they manage to enter the mountain, Ishmael disappears and Samir goes after him. Karim was listening to music in his vehicle at the moment he sees the young man falling off the mountain. When he goes to help Samir, the man is surrounded by several armed soldiers. Meanwhile, Adriana is surprised by Ishmael's sudden arrival. The woman asks where Samir is and he states that his companion needed to leave the mountain for some air. The pair then makes their way to Teth Adam's tomb. A few steps ahead is Sabak's crown, and Adriana must jump between two large rocks to get it. Just then, the guards who surrounded Karim appear and capture Ishmael. The man asks Adriana to flee, and the squad leader uses her brother as a hostage. To prevent Karim from being eliminated, the woman decides to turn herself in. Kneeling over Teth Adam's grave, Adriana is allowed to say her last words and invokes the presence of the champion by saying the word Shazam. Immediately, a mysterious figure appears and uses its powerful rays to disintegrate the body of one of the mercenaries. Startled, the other soldiers start shooting, and Adriana takes advantage of the distraction to escape with her brother. The bullets are not even enough to cause injuries to the body of that powerful warrior, who uses his hyperspeed to eliminate his enemies. In the midst of the battle, the woman manages to recover the crown and is saved by the champion, who prevents a large chunk of rock from falling on her head. When Black Adam leaves the mountain where he has spent the last few thousand years, he is faced with new enemies, using flying machines that he never even imagined existed. Meanwhile, Adriana and Kareem return to the van. While her brother drives, the woman reports that she has managed to get the crown and, despite the unforeseen events, the mission was a success. Just a few meters away, a war takes place. Black Adam causes a huge explosion by causing two helicopters to collide with each other. Chaos ensues when other vehicles appear and the champion uses his own attacks to defeat those dozens of soldiers without the slightest difficulty. When everything around is destroyed, Black Adam approaches the van where Adriana is and is attacked by one of the last survivors. Kareem is impressed to see that hooded guy grabbing a missile in midair and is even more impressed when he realizes that not even a bomb blast can defeat him. After eliminating the man who attacked him, Black Adam leaves with an injury to his abdomen. At this point, Kareem feels relieved and hopes that he will never see that weirdo again. However, to his chagrin, the champion ends up falling back to Earth and faints from his injury. Still inside the mountain, Ishmael receives a call from one of the members of his mercenary team. The man plotted all that staging to steal the crown without his cover being blown, but failed miserably in his mission. Now, he must go after Adriana, hoping to get his hands on the artifact. Upon receiving word of the champion's awakening, Hawkman enlists the help of a lean team of superheroes to spring into action. The group consists of Maxine Hunkel, known as Cyclone because of her ability to manipulate the winds, Al Rothstein, known as Atom Smasher because he possesses powers that allow him to alter the size of his own body, and Kent, also called Dr. Fate, the most powerful member of the group. The trio arrive at Hawkman's mansion in the United States and soon discover that they are about to embark on an international mission. His main objective is to go to Kondak to capture and arrest Black Adam, an extremely powerful metahuman. The team, self-titled as the Justice Society, boards a ship that, according to Hawkman, is completely indestructible, as it was made from nth metal. Hours after the battle, the champion wakes up in Amon's room. He gets out of bed and uses his powers to heal his wound. Upon seeing his reflection in the mirror, the man is confused, for this type of tool did not exist in his time. He then discovers that 5,000 years have passed since he was imprisoned. In the living room, Adriana continues her research on the cursed crown and discovers a phrase written on the inside of the artifact, which states that life is the only way to death. In his room, Amon tells how, since Black Adam disappeared, Kondak has been taken over by invaders and his people continue to be oppressed. They erected a statue of their champion, for they never gave up hope that he would return to set them free. However, upon hearing this, Black Adam claims he is not a hero and goes through the wall to get out of that place, since in his time doors did not yet exist. The champion then continues his journey in search of that new world, and Amon uses the secret passage from his room to follow him without his mother noticing. The Justice Society ship is about to land on Kondak and Dr. Fate explains the plan to the rest of the team. The best chance they have to capture the target is to get him to say the word Shazam. In this way, Black Adam will lose all his powers and become vulnerable. After stealing the radio communicator of one of the inter-gang members, Amon sends a message to all the soldiers that Kondak's champion is back. The young man is chased by the guard, but manages to escape with his skateboard and tries to get Black Adam's attention by making a triangle with his hands, which represents a strong symbol of freedom for his people. Amon is captured and his mother shows up to save him. Adriana manages to convince the guard to let the young man go, but she is recognized as a fugitive and has to find a way to escape. Seeing them in trouble, Black Adam decides to intervene and confronts the guards. After being hit on the head, he throws the man into space and is surrounded by snipers. The warrior quickly gets rid of those guys, and just as he is about to eliminate two of his enemies while flying over the city, the Justice Society shows up to spoil his fun. Black Adam releases his victims, and Carter Hall jumps from the ship to try to save them. By activating his Hawkman suit, he manages to ensure that the men land safely. However, this heroic act serves no purpose, for soon after, the champion strikes them with its lightning bolts. Within minutes, Dr. Fate appears and orders Black Adam to surrender. However, the man tells him that he was a prisoner until he perished and now he had the opportunity to be reborn as a god, so he states that he will not kneel before anyone. When attacked, Fate tries to distract his opponent by recreating in his mind the world in which he lived 5,000 years ago. While the champion is confused observing everything around him, Hawkman takes the opportunity to attack him, arousing the wrath of the former prisoner. After electrocuting his enemy, Black Adam drags him into a mid-air battle and Dr. Fate needs to interfere in the fight by throwing his target back to the ground. Now it's Cyclone and Atom Smasher's turn to take action. Maxine uses her powers to produce a tornado and shoot metal beams at her opponent in an attempt to trap him. However, Black Adam manages to free himself and Dr. Fate tries to arrest him again. At that moment, Cyclone and Hawkman prepare to launch one last attack. Realizing that he is about to be defeated, the champion unleashes all his power and gets rid of all his enemies at once. When the battle seemed to be won, Atom Smasher appears and attacks him with his huge fist, keeping the target immobilized for a few minutes. However, when he recovers from the attack, Black Adam breaks free and, with a single punch, knocks the big guy down. At this time, the surrounding residents unite to wish long life to their champion, who disappears after winning yet another battle. Dr. Fate directs his team not to follow him, because he knows that none of them have enough power to defeat that meta-human. Instead, the hero goes after Adriana, for in a vision it is revealed to him that the woman holds the crown of Sabak. However, she claims that she does not have the crown. By now Amon is long gone. During the battle, he took the artifact and put it in his backpack. In order to settle things peacefully, Adriana offers to accompany the heroes to the palace, where Black Adam is. According to legend, 5,000 years earlier, the champion went to that very palace to free his people, but according to the members of the Justice Society, he went there seeking revenge, not freedom. Then, at the height of his anger, Black Adam's powers became uncontrollable, and after destroying the palace along with everyone in it, the Sorcerer's Council was forced to consider him unworthy of the gifts he had received. This is how the champion ended up being sealed in a tomb until he was freed by Adriana. After being confronted by the woman, Black Adam decides to call a truce and listen to what his enemies have to say. When Amon arrives home, he is surprised to find that Ishmael is alive. What he doesn't realize is that the man is a traitor and has gone there to steal the crown. He takes the young man and his uncle hostage and orders Amon to hand over his backpack. However, in order to prevent such a powerful artifact from falling into dangerous hands, Kareem attacks Ishmael and orders his nephew to flee with the crown. In this way, he ends up getting shot in the abdomen, but buys Amon enough time to hide the crown and escape through his secret passage. During the negotiation between Black Adam and the members of the Justice Society, Adriana receives a call from her son, who informs her about everything that has happened. The young man tells her that he is hiding in the building while the Intergang is after him. Desperate, the woman begs the champion to save her son. When Black Adam appears, he realizes that Amon has already been captured and orders the mercenary to release him. At that moment, the young man is thrown into midair, but the hero manages to save him before his body is torn to pieces on the ground. He then returns to get rid of the criminals and Ishmael uses a gun to force the young man to follow him. The man opens his backpack and asks where the crown is, but Amon refuses to give him the information. As such, the man decides to take him hostage, arousing Black Adam's wrath when he finds out what has happened. Caged in the trunk of a floating motorcycle, the young man calls his mother and informs her that he is trapped in one of the vehicles. Upon hearing this, the Justice Society helps search the vehicles in search of the young man. Black Adam searches the motorcycles one by one and, upon finding that Amon is not there, he does not feel the slightest remorse in eliminating the rider. Hawkman tries to stop him from continuing to take people's lives in this way, but the champion refuses to follow his orders. Finally, Black Adam takes down the last vehicle and verifies that Amon is not inside either. What happened is that Ishmael used his partners as bait to distract the champion while he ran off with the young man. In the midst of the battle, Dr. Fate will pay a visit to Adriana's house, as he knows that the crown is hidden there. When he arrives at the apartment, he finds Kareem shot on the floor. The man is in agony, for he believes that this will be the moment of his elimination. Then, to calm him down, the hero reveals that he is able to see into the future and states that this is not the way Kareem is eliminated. His fate is to be electrocuted. At this news, the man feels relieved, but soon realizes that he will have to abandon his profession as an electrician. While Kareem is being treated on the ship, Adriana is surprised by Kent's presence. The man states that he and his team will find Amon, and minutes later, the champion appears along with Hawkman, who takes 2 members of Intergang to have their minds searched by Dr. Fate. However, Black Adam prefers a more primitive method to extract information. He threatens to drop the prisoners from hundreds of feet high if they do not answer his questions. However, even after getting the information he needed, the bald man decides to let them go, and Hawkman must hurry to save those guys' lives. Furious that Black Adam is still trying to eliminate the criminals, the hero attacks him. They destroy the entire house during the battle, and accidentally, while trying to hit his opponent in the face, the champion ends up hitting the crown. With the artifact in hand, they decide to work as a team to recover the young man and intend to use the crown as a bargaining chip. During the trip, Dr. Fate has a vision and discovers that Hawkman will be eliminated during the coming battle. He decides to reveal this fact to his companion and states that very soon the time will come when they must say goodbye. Shortly after, the team arrives in the Al-Hadidiyah Mountains and they agree on a strategic plan to avoid, as much as possible, any team member being lost during the mission. Black Adam is the first to storm the place. He eliminates as many guards as possible and finds Ishmael. However, he is unable to attack him, as the man is being protected by a shield made of Eternium. Then the rest of the team shows up and, seeing a gun being pointed at her son's head, Adriana decides to hand over the crown. With the artifact in hand, Ishmael reveals that he is the last living descendant of King Octan and claims that he now has everything he needs to become the next king of Kondak. After uttering the words described in Sabak's crown, the man deactivates the shield and shoots Amon. However, Black Adam uses his hyperspeed to stop the bullet from hitting the young man and his fury destroys the entire mountain. Protected by members of the Justice Society, Adriana and Amon manage to survive, but the young man must be taken away to have his wounds treated. Adam Smasher finds the crown stuck to Ishmael's charred body and takes it to the ship while Hawkman goes after the champion. When he finds him, Black Adam is in the palace, looking at the statue of Haru, his son. The young man was the true champion of Kondak. He was the one the sorcerers chose to receive those gifts and save the people. However, after numerous victories of the champion, King Octan went after his family members. Seeing his father about to perish, Haru decided to transmit his powers to him and thus was able to save him. What he could never imagine, however, was that the king's army would be there to attack him. That day, after giving up his powers to his father, Haru was eliminated with an arrow through the heart, and a deep anger took over Teth Adam. Aware that his son would disapprove of his actions, Black Adam decides to give up the powers he has received and asks Hawkman to guarantee that after he is transformed, he will not be able to speak the word Shazam again. In order to ensure that that man can never regain his powers, Hawkman takes him to an underwater laboratory and leaves the villain in the care of Amelia Harcourt and her team. The woman guarantees that the champion will never be able to say a single word for all eternity. Just like dozens of other villains she keeps locked up in the lab. In the ship's morgue, something wrong starts happening to Ishmael's remains. Dr. Fate is tormented by the same vision over and over again and does not understand why this is happening. After all, his mission has been successfully completed. Kent worries that if Carter perishes, the Justice Society may come to an end. Furthermore, despite being used to Fate's misfortunes, Kent cannot accept his friend's elimination. Instead of being relieved by Ishmael's elimination, Adriana is puzzled by how easily they were able to get rid of him. The woman then recalls the phrase on the crown. On it was engraved a message that said, "Life is the only way to death." However, before he perishes, Ishmael uttered the phrase backwards, saying that death is the only way to life. Intrigued by this fact, the woman decides to turn the crown upside down and discovers that by mirroring the words, the phrase is transformed and becomes identical to the one that Octan's heir said before being eliminated by the champion. Adriana then suspects that Ishmael has captured Amon with the intention of getting Black Adam to eliminate him. That way, he would be able to find his way to life and take the throne of Kondak. When the woman manages to unravel the whole mystery, the crown disappears and Sabak emerges from the depths of the ocean. Immediately, Hawkman sends missiles to eliminate it, but the demon manages to destroy the ship. The Justice Society then unites to prevent Sabak from sitting on the throne, for if that happens he will become invincible. With the help of his companions, Hawkman manages to wound the enemy, but soon receives an attack that leaves him unconscious. Seeing his prediction about to come true, Kent erects a shield around the castle, preventing his team from continuing the battle. The man is willing to give his life to save his friend and claims to be relieved that, for the first time in many years, he cannot predict what will happen. While witnessing his partner's sacrifice, Carter tries to destroy the force field, but is unsuccessful. After ensuring the safety of his team, the sorcerer goes after Sabak and tries to slow him down, hoping that Black Adam will show up to defeat the demon. While fighting the enemy, Dr. Fate contacts the champion and claims that he is the only one who can defeat Sabak. The sorcerer uses his powers to free him and several guards appear to stop the warrior from transforming. However, despite being weak and without any power, Teth Adam manages to defeat them and jumps into the ocean. At this moment, Dr. Fate receives his penultimate blow, and the protection around the palace crumbles. Hawkman then realizes that his friend is about to take his final breath and rushes to try to save him. However, when he meets his companion, the hero ends up witnessing his elimination. Sabak then finally sits on his throne and re-establishes himself as king of Kondak. The demon unleashes the legions of hell to destroy those people, and Adriana prepares to face the zombies when her brother appears in the van. Kareem does not feel the slightest fear of facing those creatures. After all, according to Dr. Fate, he will be eliminated by electrocution and not in a battle against the undead. At his mother's request, Amon enlists the help of his people to fight against those monsters and for his freedom. When he reaches the surface, Black Adam utters the magic word and regains his powers. In order to establish his dominance, Sabak destroys the statue of Haru, and Amon is about to be struck by the rock when the champion appears. After saving the young man, the warrior goes after the demon, preventing it from destroying Hawkman. In this instant, a true battle between champions begins, which will define the future of that nation. Black Adam is losing the duel, so Carter decides to interfere. He strikes Sabak, but ends up being seriously wounded, just as he was in Kent's vision. However, that was not his real body. The hero uses the Helmet of Fate to create various versions of himself and immobilize the enemy, while Black Adam uses his powers to break the man's body in half. At this time, the legions of hell disappear and the population can give their cry of victory. Despite all their differences, Carter and Black Adam manage to get along, and the Helmet of Fate disappears after fulfilling its role. The Justice Society then gives up arresting the champion. After all, he saved those people. So the group returns to the United States and Black Adam sits on the throne. The people ask him to lead them, but the warrior decides to destroy that throne once and for all. Instead of becoming the ruler, he states that he will only be the protector of that nation. In this way, Kondak can finally be free. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, please like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.